Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. So it's Sunday, June 27th, 2021. So I see there's quite a few already waiting out there. So I decided to come a little earlier than usual, a little early as usual as I do, 5 minutes early. We're going to talk about a possible reset. And why do I say possible? Because I think if we have a currency collapse or a hyperinflation, you can't do a reset during a hyperinflationary collapse. It's only if the system's still functioning that you can do a reset. But so we're going to look at those prices that I put in the title of the video. I saw that one of you guys, was it James? He laughed. He said $8,000 gold. I assume he's laughing about that price possibility. But we're going to look into that, why it's not really, it's actually, I think, quite a, how can I say, conservative forecast for where we could go if there is a reset. So we've got Graham Hobbs, Monaco 64 world community. Yeah, it is a world community, and that's a good thing. I don't really care about borders or state divisions. Of course, people are different everywhere. People have their different customs and languages everywhere. But dividing people politically and through borders with passports, and I'm not talking about the current passports that they were thinking of bringing, but also normal passports didn't exist until I think late in the 19th century. People just used to travel freely. You know, if you had the wherewithal to travel, you could travel. And we're going to look into that as well. My political philosophy, well, I don't have a political philosophy. I'm apolitical. I'm going to recommend an interesting guy that I think you guys will enjoy. It's really raining hard tonight. I've seen some, I think it was Peter, is it Peter Brunsgaard from Indiana saying it's 101 degrees. While here it's been raining most of the day, and it's in the low 60s Fahrenheit, which is around in the high teens Celsius. So it hasn't been a great day. Yeah, Billy is fast asleep as usual. His birthday is coming up soon in about 10 days. Gold is universal. That's right, music lover forever. Gold is universal. It's, and silver for that matter as well. You know, it's accepted as value. So people will accept it as a means of exchange, as something valuable everywhere in the world. Yeah, magic hand puppet, those borders are primarily tax chattel fences. So started the mandibles, scary but awesome so far, Ben Gray. Yeah, the Mandibles book is really good. I read it in less than a week. I couldn't put it down. So we got a couple of minutes. I'll wait until more people get on board for the live stream. We've got, yeah, we've only got just under a couple of hundred, it looks like right now. Last week we had quite a lot of concurrent viewers, like over 1,000 at the same time. Yeah, yeah, that's how it works. Sometimes you get a lot of people, sometimes you don't. Have a sip of my drink. I got a Tasmanian Devil cup. This is an old one. Grant Harding, Basel III is merely the Yeah, I mean, tomorrow is supposed to be the day for the European banks, the EU or Eurozone banks. We'll see. I have spoken about Basel III because, of course, everyone's talking about it. I've had a lot of viewers ask about it. So, but as I've said, it's not going to change my view of the fundamentals for gold and silver. Basel III, even if it wasn't happening, I don't think it would change much. And I'm not sure it's going to change anything tomorrow. The markets are going to, I think gold and silver are still in the short term a little bit under pressure, the fiat price. So yeah, I've got my Hewlett Packard 12C. Some of you might know this calculator. My dad, he used to use this, and that's how I got used to it. I still have it. It's a good calculator. I'm going to be using it so I can explain to you guys. I'm going to be sharing a lot of screens today because we're going to look at charts and other things. So yeah, it's 9:01 London. So we'll wait just a little longer for everyone to get on, because I'm going to start with really talking about this. If there is a reset, and a reset is a correction, and in the markets, and I would say we've been having a reset since the beginning of this century in terms of gold versus paper assets. But I think there are also resets that are very quick, that happened during a crisis, like we had in 1980, when gold almost went up to 900, and the Dow was around 900 as well. When the dollar was really weak, when silver went to 50, that was a reset, final reset, because I would argue that during the whole 1970s, gold was going up, silver was going up, the dollar was going down, and so the system was resetting, so it could start again after Volcker raised rates. And we can't argue that it hasn't been 2, 3, or 4 decades of huge growth of credit, and it only was possible because of that reset in 1980, and there were resets before in 1933, and even to some extent in the mid 60s, as you see. So I'm claiming that the minimum gold could go to would be $8,000, and silver 500. The reason I took 500 is because I took the 16-to-1 ratio, which is historically very important. That was the ratio that Alexander Hamilton set gold and silver at for the Coinage Act of 1792. It was the rate at which we reset in 1980. There was also a reset after World War I around 17. So I think it's very possible that we reset back to 16. Thank you, Peter Brunsgaard, for your super chat. So let's stop talking and look at the charts. So I'm going to bring up the gold chart first, share it with you. 1 second. So here we go. So there we go. That's a logarithmic chart of gold. So I'll explain to you guys why I think we could go to 800, or sorry, 8,000 ounce per troy ounce gold price. If you look in the early 70s, of course, gold price was fixed at 35. In 71, Nixon took gold, took the gold price, or took gold, or took the dollar off the gold standard. And gold went in about 10 years. And I would say it started actually in 1968. So it took about 12 years. Gold went from 35 to, I think the high was, on this chart, it says 850. But Jim Sinclair, who was present during this bull market, he made a fortune trading gold. He always used to say that the high was 887.50 in gold. So if you take 887.50 and you divide that by 35, it went up 25 times gold during that reset. Silver, of course, was at $1.29 and it went up to 50. The ratio there, 887 to 50, got down to around 16, the gold silver ratio. But James was saying, said 8,000, and he's with little LOLs that he was laughing about it. But so I guess if someone had forecast in 1970 that gold would be almost at $900 in 1980, yeah, a lot of people would have been laughing, but they weren't, of course, later on. And that's 25 times. So what happened after 1980, after the reset? As you can see here, the price of gold really was stuck in the range. And if you look at, yeah, towards the end there, when we reached the bottom in 2001, there was a bit of a drop. I think that was the Larry Summers, when he became Treasury Secretary. They started leasing a lot of gold. They got the price down a little bit. That fueled a little bit the dot-com bubble. But I would say that 400, or let's say 300 to 500 was the range for gold. So basically they set gold around that level for about 20 years. And then after the dot-com bubble burst, they had to reset the system again. They started resetting it, as you can see here. And this time around, it took another 10 years. So another 10 years, and we topped at 1920 here in 2011. So if you go 1920 and you divide that by 250, that's 7.68 times. So the reset wasn't as big as it was in percentage terms in the 70s and early 80s. It was only 7.68 times. So, and I would argue after 2011, we did pretty much what happened in the 80s and 90s. It wasn't as long though. It took, from around 2013 to last year, or to 2019, gold was pretty much trading around 1,300, give or take $100, right? So it was kind of fixed there at 1,300. And I think now it's resetting again. So if we take 7.68 times, times the low here in December 2015 at around 1,045. So we multiply that. I get 8,025, as you can see here. And that's why, I came up with that number. It's quite simple. It's just looking at past cycles. And I think this next leg of a reset, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I would argue that it started in 2019, because that was the year we broke that 1,400 level. And I would say it could take, it's going to be shorter this time around, because the period where gold was stable there, 2013 to 2019, is about 6 years. So we're already 2 years in to this reset, maybe another 4-5 years to get to 8,000. And that's the minimum. Why the minimum? Well, if we take the 25 times that gold, the gold price went up in the 70s, and we extrapolate that, let's say, to 1,045, we get 25,000, of course. Or if we extrapolated from the low here in 2001, 250, 25 times, we don't get as much. We get 6,250. I personally think 25,000 is possible as well. I could have put that in the title, but yeah, but that would let's say if the Dow went back to 25,000 and gold was at 25, you'd also get the 1-to-1 Dow gold ratio resetting. So that's how I got those numbers. And I think that's how they do it. But the wild card is that they lose control of the currency and they can't even reset. Gold becomes unobtainable, or also silver, and the currency collapse. They can't do a reset. They can fix things after everything implodes. I would hope that they're able to succeed in resetting. It would be less disruptive. A hyperinflation is a serious thing. A currency collapse is a serious thing, especially when it's the reserve currency of the world. The whole world would be affected. So I'm going to go look at your questions now. Black Pill on steroids, thank you for your super chat. Mary, you have been a strong, consistent educational content creator when it comes to financial education. Keep on, brother, fighting the criminal cartels with the sword of truth and a shield of courage. Thanks. And I'm going to stick more, well, not more. I've always been sticking to the money, trying to explain, to let people know what the system is all about, because I think being independent, reliant, self-sufficient, devoid of debt is really important. Yeah, and I could cover a lot of other things out there that is going on in the world. And I did do that last Sunday with a video that got deleted by YouTube. And I was given a warning, and I'm not going to go there again because I want to keep giving people, disinformation about the monetary system, because I think it's even more important, because holding gold and silver, getting out of their fiat system also helps stop financing the people that are in charge. And I think that's really important. So I'll just bring up the silver chart here. So there you go. I think the key number in silver is 16-1, even though a lot of people think it could go 1-to-1. I personally don't think it could go, it will go 1-to-1, even though anything's possible, but I'm going to stick to my 16-1. So that's how I get 500 silver, 8,000 divided by 16. That's really easy. 5 times 6 is 3. 5 times 1, add 3, that's 800. That's $500 silver. So, and here's the silver chart. It's a really interesting chart as well. It's a logarithmic chart, and it's a massive teacup formation. And that's why I think if we go up to 50, 50 will be the breakout of the top of the teacup. It would be just the beginning of the technical move higher. Of course, there will probably be just as much resistance as there's been around this 30 level. And I think it's good to look at a monthly chart, because, it gives people, short term, there's a lot of moves. But as you can see, silver still looks really good from that bottom that we saw last year, just below 12. It has just been a bit frustrating waiting, but it's given us more time to accumulate silver, that's for sure, which I have done. I wish I could have accumulated more, but I've increased my stack, and I was able to buy a few coins on that day that it dipped below 12, not many. Andy Tusa said he watched that video from Sunday. Yeah, it's on Rumble if people want to watch it. Nancy K says, I've signed up on Odyssey already, bookmarked my necklace for YouTube is out of control. I think by Odyssey, you mean library. Yeah, I consider it library. I've got a new laptop. I try to download the library here, and it's not allowing me to. So right now, you're not going to be able to follow me on library or Odyssey, as you call it, but I'm on BitChute, I'm on Hive, Steemit, I'm on Rumble, I'm on DTube, but I will get LBRY back up. Joker Alpha, central banks will not allow Basel III ruling to happen. Yeah, I mean, and I think they have ways around it as well. Who knows? Who knows? But eventually, you know, the bankers and the central bankers, they will reset the price of gold. They'll have to keep the system going. They have to. The other thing as well, if they keep the price of gold suppressed for too long, or artificially low, they will lose a lot of their gold, I think, especially to the countries in the Far East. Yeah, Lily Boots, I'm on Instagram as well. I don't really publicize that much, but I'm there on Instagram. Samurai, I don't follow Nisara and Gizara. This has been, you know, people have been talking about this for decades. I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't look at anything that's to do with government. And with that, I'm going to tell you what my views on government are, any kind of government, any kind of politics. And I'll bring up this video. This was from about 9 years ago, but it's timeless. I recommend you guys watch it. The Jones Plantation. Larkin Rose as well. I recommend you watch his, you know, subscribe to his YouTube channel. I think he's come out recently. They're going to make a movie called The Jones Plantation. I think that's going to be really interesting. So The Jones Plantation, what they're talking about is like basically that we're still like in a plantation, and we've got Mr. Red and Mr. Blue in the US. Here we've got Mr. Conservative, Mr. Labor, and we elect them, but they're always looking after their own interest. And we think that we have a voice, but we don't. So I recommend Larkin Rose YouTube channel. And this Jones Plantation was from May 2012. It's still on the channel, of course. Recommend you watch that. I'm not going to play it here, but that's how I feel about anything to do with government. That's why there's the old saying, gold is the money of kings, silver is the money of gentlemen, barter is the money of peasants. Nothing wrong with barter, actually. And paper money or fiat currency is the money of slaves. And that's the system we've got now. And the political system is linked into that fiat currency. So when people talk about Nisara, Nagara, yeah, I don't really care much for that. I just keep stacking. Have a sip of my drink. Billy's here. He's just lying down on the wood floor. Pabar, yeah, I do. I have interviewed Paul before, Bellin GP. Yeah, I'm gonna contact him again. I'm doing an interesting interview on Thursday. I'm not gonna say who it is. It's gonna be a surprise. He's an interesting guy who doesn't go much on social media or YouTube. Black Coffee or Kof says divide and conquer. That's right. Common Sense, did you see Alistair McLeod's interview, Liberty and Finance? Do you agree Basel III would just be the start of a rise in metals? You know, I don't know about Basel III. You know, I have spoken a lot about it. As I said, I try not to think too much about it because it's not going to change the way I view things. And with that, I'm going to bring up some charts just to show you how things are getting out of hand with the central banks. And I recommend this page as well. It's all free. Bring it up here. I'm going to share it with you guys. And that's why I think, a reset might not even be in the cards if they lose control of the currency. If there's hyperinflation, they won't be able to reset. You can only reset. Usually they reset when things are really bad and they just like give up, like Volcker did, and let rates rise to 20%. The Germans didn't, they let things get really bad in 1923. We'll have to see what happens now. So this is Yardeni.com. I recommend, it's all free, this website. So let's look at this is from June 24th. So we can see why, I'm not too concerned about Basel III, because you look at the balance sheets here, the major central banks, we've gone from just over, I don't know, let's say three and a quarter trillion in 2007 before the crisis, and we are now at 25 trillion. Those are the major central banks: Fed, ECB, and Bank of Japan. I mean, it's going crazy. And if you look at also the percentage changes of their total assets, rarely does it go negative. They're always inflating, and they're going to keep doing it. And if you look at the recent numbers as well, the Federal Reserve, it's gotten up to like 8.1 trillion. I've calculated in the last month, annualized, the Fed's balance sheet is grown 30% annualized. If they stay at this pace, we're going to be next to 10 trillion next year. So yeah, and look at the ECB. The ECB is even worse. This is in dollars, of course. The ECB is doing even more QE than the Fed. So there you go. That's why I wanted to show you this. That's why I'm not concerned. Even if there wasn't a Basel III, I wouldn't care really. So let's go back and see your questions. HZJ79, thank you for your super chat towards Billy shampoo and nail clip. Oh yeah, Billy, I think his groomer is coming. I think on Tuesday. He's got a mobile groomer. She parks outside with her van, a mobile van, and she does a really good job. Billy's been going to her for the last 5-6 years. So thanks for that. No is here. Mash the like button. Oil will outlast humans. Fiat is not an asset. Well, I guess fiat currency is, well, when you hold it, it's an asset, and the bank, it's a bank's liability, right, in accounting. I think what you mean, it's not a hard asset. Do you think Russia or China will force a reset? I think it can only be done with the US, the EU, US, EU, China, and Russia sitting around the table and agreeing on something. But who knows, they could do it on their own. Let's look at the gold silver ratio, because I spoke about the gold silver ratio and why I think, silver could go to 500. So this one goes back, as you can see here, this is from macrotrends.net, a pretty good chart going back to 1915. So you can see here after, just after World War I, yeah, there's silver was in short supply. And I'll show you as well. I'm reading a book. I just received it a few days ago. It's called The Story of Silver, How the White Metal Shaped America and the Modern World. I highly recommend this. It's by William Silber. And he talks about how after World War One, the U.S. Treasury actually lent uh, hundreds of millions of tons, or was it tons? Yeah, lent a lot of, sorry, I don't remember the amount, but they lent a lot of silver to the British because British controlled India, and India was having a tough time because silver price was really high after the war, as you can see here. Very inflationary World War One. Silver is used in a lot of things. And yeah, we dropped to almost 16 here, as you can see. And high gold silver ratio is not something unusual. It almost got up to 100 just at the beginning of World War II. It was, I think, around 83, even though here it says 80 during the Great Depression. The book that I showed you talks about that. I think the price of silver during the Great Depression got down to 24 cents per ounce, and the legal price set the Coinage Act of 1792 was $1.29. So that's why that ratio was so high. So this is what we saw last year at over 120. It was not that unusual, even though it's probably the highest ever there, as you can see. But we also had almost 16 to 1 here in 1967, 68. That was the period of the Vietnam War. There's a lot of inflation building up. And then the reset in 1980, we got down to 16 again here. I can't really get the little cursor here, but it was around 16. And then in the, when we got up to 50 in 2011, it was just above 30. But I think we'll go back to 16 to 1 again. And it's weird that it always goes back to that level a lot of times, as you can see here. And Alexander Hamilton wasn't a silly guy to know that that level was historically important for silver. So yeah, I do expect silver, of course, to outperform gold because, it's gonna, that ratio is gonna drop. Orthodoxos carriers, thank you for your super chat. So I'm gonna look at some of your questions. Sorry, I haven't been, because I've been sharing the screen and looking at the charts. I'll see if I can answer some more questions. So yeah, it looks like it's quite hot in the States. Jane Northrop says is 105 degrees. Here it's like in the low 60s and it's rainy. Rochelle Fernandez, I'm in India. I'm from India. My dad told me around time of World War, Brits confiscated silver from Indian people. Yeah, but actually, I think after World War I, they actually helped India because India was under a silver standard and the price of silver was too high. They were losing a lot of silver in the coinage. So what the Americans did is they sold, or they lent a lot of the silver to the British, and the British gave it to the Indians to keep the system going. But I think what you mean is during World War II, they did that. And Gustava, have you seen The Truman Show? Dr. Fulmy? Yeah, I have. I've seen this doctor, German-American guy. I saw him as early as last year. I'm not going to go on about what he's talking about. We're only going to cover markets and economics. But as it pertains to what's happening in the outside world, or not outside world, but this crisis that we've had since last year, I don't think it's going to get any better. And that's why, I think it's a cover. A lot of it is a cover to do a lot of their thing, a lot of what the people in charge want to do. And one of the things they want to do is just flush down the system, the economic, monetary, financial system, because we've gotten to a point where the debt is so so astronomical that they have to keep, yeah, they can't let things run normally like in the free world. And whether they succeed in resetting things, like I've said earlier in this video, is to be seen. I think they can do it, but I think loss of confidence in the currency, which is hyperinflation. Well, it's not only it's a loss of confidence in the currency, but the reason you lose confidence in the currency is because you also lose confidence in the entity that issues the currency. That entity is the state, the government, and it's going to be touch and go. Either way, I think it's wise to hold on to physical gold and silver. And there are a lot of other things that we need to do to survive, of course. We need to try to get out of debt. We need to make sure we have some kind of income, because if we don't have any income, we can't keep a hold of our savings, i.e. gold and silver. There's a lot of other things that we need to do. Over what time frame do you see gold going to 8,000, silver 500, 6 months, 1 year? I would say more towards the latter part there, 3 to 5 years. And that would be a minimum, I would say, common sense. I won't go over it again. I mean, if you just gotten here, I recommend you start, watch from the beginning, because yeah, I'm not going to repeat what I said. But yeah, it's not going to be, next month or in a year, but you never know. What I said is that I think this latest reset in the price started in 2019. That's because we broke out of a really narrow range we had from like 2013 to 2019, basically between 1,200 and 1,400. And so, yeah, we've been rising for the last 2 years since 2019. And I think it could take another 4, 5 years, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. So who knows? Michigan sounds like Alabama. You could cut it while a knife. Tigerol, just bought 200 ounces of silver. That's good. McAfee was flown to Nantucket, Nantucket, Massachusetts. That's a nice part of the world, Nantucket. Martha's Vineyard, that part is quite nice. Yeah, don't mind. Yeah, ask questions if you guys want. I don't mind. Carlo Laboni, do any central banks hold silver in reserve? The only central bank that I know of in the last few years, I remember reading some years ago, that was holding silver was the Russian central bank. So yeah, apart from that, I don't know if there are other ones. I don't think many central banks hold silver. The watcher says, good evening, Marion Bilster. Bilster is here. He just jumped off the sofa a few minutes ago. Rich Mountains. Yeah, I haven't played golf for weeks now because I hurt my left knee a couple of months ago. It got better, and then when I was playing about a month ago, it got worse. So I'm resting my left knee because, in the golf swing, the left knee, and when you're right-handed, the left knee is really important. And I'm going to see the physiotherapist on Wednesday about my knee. So yeah, I don't have any tournaments. I haven't signed up for any. I had signed up for a competition today, but I had to take my name off last week because my knee wasn't better. Common sense. Apologies for asking repetitive question. I will go back and watch. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. It's okay. No need to apologize. I may be wrong, but who will trade their gold this time at the end of the bull run for fiat currency if they start announcing negative rates? Well, it's not about exchanging it for fiat currency. It's about exchanging it for other things, because gold and silver have been means of exchange for thousands of years. The reason it's not so much anymore is because of legal tender laws, because we are forced to pay our taxes in fiat currency. But I've used silver, for example, to exchange goods and services with people before. I don't do it very often, so that's what it's going to be used for. Or even if the fiat currencies are still accepted and the price is really high, gold and silver. Let's say you've stacked quite a bit of silver and you want to buy some land with the, because the silver price and the gold price, you'll say, have gone up, and relative to land or property, they've gone up as well. You might have to go through the fiat to get, the asset that you want to buy. But yeah, I won't be like exchanging my gold and silver just to hold on to fiat. No, I don't want to hold on to fiat. Never, never want to hold on to fiat. Yeah, of course, I hold a bit of fiat to pay my monthly expenses and other things, but I try to stay out of fiat as much as possible. Pabar, your opinion on the World Economic Forum? We will own nothing and rent everything. I think they're going to be right, unfortunately, for a lot of people. Because a lot of people, unfortunately, have taken on so much debt. A lot of people fall for a lot of the peer pressure, all the propaganda on mainstream, on Hollywood, on Wall Street, about you being able, you should be able to have everything you want and that you can borrow. So unfortunately, I think the World Economic Forum will be right. But of course, it's not going to be 100% of the people. Hopefully, we'll be able to stay sovereign, because that's what it's all about. So with that, I'm going to show you here, someone tweeted this out, and it's to do what you said there. No one will own anything. And I'm not saying here that we are in the 1%, but because I'm not, some of you might be, but I'm not. But you can see here, this is share of total net worth held by top 1%. This is from the Federal Reserve itself. So percentage of aggregate, so it's at a record high since they've been keeping track of this in the late 80s. So 32.1% of all the wealth now is owned by the 1%. So I think it's very possible what the World Economic Forum is saying. It doesn't mean that I agree with them, that I think it's a good thing, but unfortunately, that's the way people have been led to this situation. I'm going to share another chart here. This is a silver chart. This guy is quite popular on Twitter. His name is, I think it's, what's his name? It's Graddy, Graddhy. So you might want to follow him. He's a technical analyst, I think, from Sweden. So this is the silver S&P ratio. So as you can see, I mean, we are at really low levels in this ratio. And he thinks we've broken out and that the way forward is for a lot high. He thinks silver is going to outperform the S&P. So that's quite interesting. And the date he has is like 2025, 2026, which is 4 to 5 years, which kind of corresponds with my idea. And did I decide on that 4 to 5 years because of this? No, because of the older cycles in gold and silver. So yeah, if any of you are on Twitter, recommend following this guy, Grady. I don't know how he pronounces that. So let's get rid of that. One-eyed Ratch. Thank you for your super chat. Love your videos. Great work on teaching people the real definition of inflation. I hate the self-proclaimed authorities love trying to change the meaning. Yeah, I know. It really gets to me. I know it's easy to get to change the words, but and I think they do it because it's a way of hiding the real inflation, which is the creation of money and credit out of thin air. But I think even people in the alternative use the term interchangeably. Gritty, Festool. Yeah, Tether, yeah. Tether is leveraged like 30 to 1. And I've been looking at this since last year. Some anonymous guy wrote about Tether, how he looked through their banks. Tether has a bank account, I think, in Bahamas, and they don't have the amount of because they're supposed to back every Tether or USD, I think it's called USDT, with one fiat dollar, one Federal Reserve note, but they don't. So, and some people have looked at the chart of the market cap of Tether with the chart of Bitcoin, and they correspond a lot to it. And Tether is also leveraged. So they create it out of thin air at 30 to 1. They leverage it as well because a lot of these exchanges you trade Bitcoin and Tether on, they let you leverage like 10 to 1 or 20 to 1. So I'm not knocking Bitcoin, but I think there's a lot of froth and leverage in Bitcoin. I saw that Dr. Michael Barry, the guy from The Big Short, I think he's on Twitter as Cassandra, and he said that the problem with cryptos and Bitcoin is that no one knows how leveraged it is. You know, of course, Bitcoin is limited. The amount of Bitcoins that are going to be mined in history, you know, forever. I think it's 21 million, it's up to 18. But if the price has been driven by money created out of thin air as well, like Tether, it's not very, you know, I agree with George Gammon. I can see Tether breaking the buck and completely collapsing, and that could create a lot of even more volatility than we already see in cryptocurrencies. Okay. The Can, thank you for your super chat. I bought one of your silverback mugs, drinking out of it right now. Yeah, I like that too. It's one of my favorites. I bought that one too. Common sense, do you think that countries like Norway and Switzerland will fare better during this reset because these currencies carry very little debt versus EU and USA? To be honest, they might fare better in relative terms. And Norway, of course, has, I think they still have quite a bit of oil. I'm not sure. They could do relatively well, the Norwegians, but every fiat currency will suffer. Even in the 80s, you know, the Swiss franc went down a lot versus gold. So did the Deutschmark, but it will be relative terms. That's why, you know, gold will outperform all fiat currencies, including the Swiss franc and the Norwegian krona. It's one of my favorite characters, the Tasmanian Devil. I also like Scrooge McDuck. I always used to like reading the Scrooge McDuck cartoons when I was younger. Fed coin cometh. Yeah, good for the Fed. I'm not going to be holding too much Fed coin or Bank of England coin. Yeah, I think the Bank of England, Bank of Canada, they have something like 78 ounces of gold, which isn't that much at all. Cobalt Zexi. Must be from Germany. Good evening. How's silver going? You mean the price? I don't know. I don't think the market is open yet. Silver. Big March anti-lockdown yesterday in London. There was. I think there were about what hundreds of thousands of people, well, maybe 100,000, maybe more. And it's interesting though that the mainstream media here didn't really cover it much. It wasn't even in the front pages, and there's a lot of people in central London. Yeah, they're really trying to hide the, the anger that's building up. P-Andas, it's about the NHS, my video on Rumble. I haven't posted many videos on Rumble. So if you go on Monaco64, just scroll down, you find it. It's got like about 3,300 views. What do I think of Mario Draghi? Well, I guess we have the same name, but that doesn't mean I like the guy. Well, he's just an insider. He's part of the club, the Italian elite. I think his father worked at the Italian Central Bank. He went to a Jesuit high school in Rome. He worked for Goldman Sachs. He's a caretaker prime minister. He's unelected. So I don't think he's going to be good for Italy. He's going to be good for corporate interests in Italy. He's not going to be good for the Italian people in general. A lot of people will benefit from it, but it will be the top 1%, top 10% will benefit. So that's what I think of Draghi. He's not there really to, during the sovereign debt crisis in Europe, if he really was for, I think the Italian public or the general public and all the other countries that were in trouble, he would have let them, he would have let those countries default, but that would have hurt the bankers and the bondholders. So he threw even more debt at the system. He said in 2012, I'll do whatever it takes to keep the euro going. So yeah, his interests, he represents the people at the top. That's what I think about Draghi. Could be a decent, a nice guy to meet. I never met him, of course, but yeah, he's not looking after the general public's interest. Lily Robin Perth Mint. Yeah, they're not. I mean, they have the potential to default, the Perth Mints. They're running like a fractional reserve system, not as leverage as a bank, but they're doing it with silver and gold. I don't think their financial statements differentiate between silver and gold, so we don't really know which metal is being leveraged. It's probably silver, I would say. Larry Farris, why are 1 ounce gold coins marked $50? I don't know, but one reason is that if you marked it at $10,000, it would, people would use that to pay for things because it's legal tender. But at $50, no, it's not going to circulate. But you can take advantage of that, I would say, because legally it's $50. So even though it's worth like almost $2,000, right? But I don't think there's any particular reason. It could be maybe some people think that, if they reset the system, they'll lop off some zeros from the price of gold. But I'm not too sure. I don't think that's the reason why. Andy Tuesday, I agree with you about the Jesuits. I agree with Lord Humongous about Herr Schwab. Schwab? Can you hear that's the rain outside. It's really pelting down. See if there are any more questions here. NSW, own nothing, work nothing. I guess that's Atlas Shrugged. That's the story of Atlas Shrugged. The producers and the people who created value in society, they went on strike because they were being looted by the state. The same kind of thing is happening now. Yeah. What's the point of, I'm not saying people shouldn't work hard, but maybe, I don't know, try to stay outside the system as much as possible. Edward Norton, I guess you do have a political philosophy, libertarian or anarcho-capitalism. I like that one too. Stateless. Pabar, any chance you move back to Brazil? I don't know, maybe, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The thing about Brazil that's interesting with the Brazilian passport, I have a Brazilian and Italian passport. The Brazilian passport is also a Mercosur passport, which is it's like a European Union equivalent in South America. And I think it's got Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, and there's a few other associate countries, and Chile as well. And I think from 2021, anyone who has a Mercosur passport can travel freely in those countries and live in those countries. So I've got a few options, which is a good thing. I think Doug Casey talks about that, having international options being, and my father, when he took an Italian passport in the 80s, that's what it gave us, an option to leave Brazil. And I could have gone to any other country in Europe. I mean, we went to Switzerland, which isn't the EU, but we were able to get, working and living documents in Switzerland. But it's always good to have choices. I guess, yeah, I've got the choice of the EU or Mercosur now. I didn't even know that. I was just looking on Wikipedia the other day, and 2021 is when they're supposed to make traveling within those Mercosur countries free, just like the European Union, and working wherever you want. Would I go to Uruguay or Argentina? I don't know. Right now, it's not a great time for us to move. I think things are still really uncertain. And we've got family here in the UK, not much family here in the UK, but my mother-in-law, she's quite elderly. So, yeah. Ryan Morosi, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you for your super chat. What's your ETA on 8,000 gold? And do you think we will have a deflationary period when dollars will be king? ETA, as I said earlier, probably 4 to 5 years, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, 3 to 6, I guess. No deflation. I don't believe in deflation, that we're going to have any deflation unless there's a collapse, unless the central banks start raising rates, unwinding their balance sheets. And I don't think they're going to do that because deflation is the contraction of money and credit. And as we've seen since, since 1987, whenever there's some kind of danger of markets collapsing, the Federal Reserve has been wheeling in, their put every time. Started with Greenspan in 1987 crash, and it's been going on since then. And it's gotten bigger and bigger. The puts, the money printing, the QE. So I don't see any chance of deflation. Maybe there will be a deflationary environment. When you have a hyperinflation, you destroy the currency. So if the currency and the credit is destroyed, yeah, there will be a deflation, but only after the crack up boom or hyperinflation. Hopefully that answers your question. So yeah, let's say if we do, 8,000 would be my minimum, because as I explained, in the 70s and early 80s, there was the gold price multiplied by 25 times. This time I'm multiplying it by just under 8, which was what it did from 2001 to 2011. So I took the low in 2015 at 1,045, multiplied that by 7.68. It gave me 8,000, but it's not something outlandish, because yeah, in 1970 gold was 35 an ounce. Who would have thought that would have gone to 900 almost in 1980? Very few people. But common sense, do you think that there will be 2 resets? As I said, I think that we might not even get a reset if there is a hyperinflation. If they let things get out of hand too much, they won't be able to reset the price, because people won't accept dollars. Yeah, so I don't know. It's difficult to say. But they could be right. Reset really means a correction. And I think whenever a fiat currency is created, it's going to be resetting since its inception, because you can never trust politicians and bankers with a fiat currency. So the question is when that accelerates, right? Yeah, a lot of people think it's going to be done by the markets. If the markets do it, if they lose control of the gold and silver price, it could be a good thing, because then we won't have the hyperinflation. But it's going to become more and more like third world countries for Western Europe and the US. Very few people with all the wealth, and the vast majority of the middle class, really not middle class anymore. Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. What will the monetary landscape look like if central banks reprice gold to 10,000 but not back the currencies with gold? Would they still pull their shenanigans of print and spend to infinity? They will still be able to keep going. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, because that's what they've been doing since 1971. They let the gold price go to 800 in 1980, and then it settled back down around 300, 400 for about 20 years. And then they had to let it go to almost 2000, 2011. Then it came down again. And they're just going to keep trying to do it, as much as they can until they can't anymore. Cobalt Zexig is Basel made by banksters. The Basel III rules, Yeah, it's the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, which is not a Swiss bank. It's like a supranational bank, international bank. It's the banker for the central banks. So Lily Robin, let's get 1,000 thumbs up for Billy. All right, I'll take a few more questions. Marie says, smash the like button, give Mario some love. And any of you who have been here, haven't been in this channel before, think about subscribing. I mean, I'm up to 51,000, which is good. But for the last few days, it's weird. The subscriber count hasn't moved, which is very strange because this year it's been steadily moving higher. I don't know what's going on, but it's not that important. I think the thumbs up, that helps. And also make sure you, if you're subscribed, that you hit the notification bell so that you get notified of all my new videos, because I think what YouTube does a lot of times, they won't put your videos, my videos or the other people that you follow, when you open your YouTube browser, it won't show sometimes, but if you hit the notification, you might get notified more often. History lover, I went to American school in Rio, high school in Brazil, and then I went to university in Florida, Central Florida, Rollins College it was called, and a lot of my colleagues at university were from New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts. Maybe that's where I got my accent from. Fort Knox, I think there is some gold there, but I think the U.S. Treasury has leased it out many times over. So if they want to buy it back, it's going to drive the price a lot higher. Mario, do you think the reset will happen? No, no reset, they're not going to announce it. It will happen. And, I bet you a lot of people in 1980, I think it was January 20th, 1980, I think gold hit 887, silver hit 50. That was the reset. I think very few people, it took years for them to look back and see that was the reset, because I think a lot of, and that was set by the market. And I think it's going to be the same thing again. It will be reset by the market. It's only announced officially if we were under a gold or silver standard of fixed prices, if the price of gold and silver were fixed and they reset it like they did in January 1st, 1934. They reset overnight the price of gold from $20.67 to $35. But now it's going to be done by the market, if it's done. Because as I said, if they keep inflating too much, a hyperinflation, there might not even be a reset. Then you just hold on for dear life to your gold and silver. So with that, I'll say goodbye to you guys. I've gone over 10 o'clock. I need to go to bed eventually and get up tomorrow so I can do my video. So I wish everyone a great rest of the day or morning or whatever, wherever you are. And thank you for being here on the live stream.